Shikues të nderuar të Radio Televizionit të Kosovës, përshëndetje. Jemi në kohë fushate, zgjedhjet lokale pritet të mbahen me 3 nëntor. Për këtë temë dhe për çështje të tjera të rëndësishme do diskutojmë me ambasadorën amerikane në Kosovë, zonjën Tracy Ann Jacobson. Mrs. Jacobson, thank you for finding time for this interview and welcome.
Faleminderit për mundësi.
Of course. We are going towards the end of electoral campaign. How do you see this campaign till now?
Well, we're following the campaigns very closely, and there is a lot that we can say that's positive. For example, the campaigns have mostly been conducted without serious incidents. Campaigns are a great opportunity for political leaders to hear directly from people in communities about the challenges that they face. In the end, though, it's going to be up to the voters to decide about the quality of each individual campaign. We have heard reports, disturbing reports of intimidation and harassment, and of course this is unacceptable. It should be reported to the police, and I've spoken with the Chief of Police and the Minister of Interior, and I know that they're ready to investigate any kinds of irregularities that occur, and I've also had a chance to speak to the Chief State Prosecutor, and I know that the prosecutors are all trained and ready to implement the law, including the stiffer penalties and bigger fines that are included in the new Criminal Procedures Code that came into effect in 2012. I think there's been a lot of public awareness campaigning. People that watch TV or listen to the radio should know the importance of free and fair elections, should know how they can report any fraud that they see. In the end, the most important thing is that people participate in the elections, that people turn out. It's a chance for people in Kosovo to let their voice be heard in their municipalities, which is in a way something that's very important because it's the most close to home. And I hope that people will take that democratic right and responsibility very seriously on Sunday.
Yesterday we had media reports that you met with political leaders here in Kosovo, except with Vendosje. Is this correct? And if yes, what was the purpose of these meetings?
Well, I meet with political leaders all the time, individually and in groups. Right now, of course, everybody has a particular focus on ensuring free and fair elections. That includes the international community and the U.S. Embassy. So I continue to talk to political leaders about that. They have a main role to play in this. But I would say that it's not just up to the political leaders. It's also up to the voters, the citizens. It's up to all the institutions. The media has a role to play. Civil society has a role to play. So while we can hold political leaders responsible for the actions of their representatives, these are Kosovo's elections. They belong to all the people of Kosovo, and everyone has a role to play. I've actually been very glad to see the hard work on behalf of the Central Elections Commission and the Electoral Complaints and Appeals Panel and their interaction with the OSCE, with the EU, with the international community. So yes, I talk to politicians, but I'm talking to lots of people.
These elections are considered very important because of the participation of Serbs of the North for the first time. How do you see this political moment now after the agreement between Kosovo and Serbia that was signed in Brussels earlier this year?
Well, there are a lot of reasons that these elections are particularly important. It is true, as you mentioned, that this is the first time municipal elections will occur on the whole territory of Kosovo at the same time. That is a key step forward. Very important step in the implementation of the April 19th agreement between Kosovo and Serbia. But it's important for more than just that. I think what we're talking about really is the issue of quality of life for all of Kosovo's citizens. Having free and fair elections means that municipalities will have leadership selected by the people that they are there to serve. Those leaders will have to be accountable to those populations. And I think that's tremendously important.
Will the outcome of the Serbs in these elections have any positive impact in the outgoing dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia, and especially in the normalization process between the two countries?
Well, I think this is so important that I even went up to Mitrovica last week and did a radio interview. I hope that people in all communities, including Serbs, will realize how important it is for them to exercise their voice in picking who's going to lead their municipality forward. Because if you don't vote, essentially what you're doing is you're giving your vote to your neighbor or somebody that lives on the other side of town from you. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. I think most people should want to have a voice in how their municipalities are led and how they are managed. I think the benefits are potentially very great. Not only will municipalities have legitimately elected leadership, but we'll also see, I think, an improvement in the relationship between Kosovo and Serbia, which is important for the whole region. I think we will see Kosovo continue to advance on its European path. The Stabilization and Association Agreement negotiations, which started last week, were a clear symbol of the fact that Europe recognizes the hard work that Kosovo has done. And in the end, communities that are integrated, where everybody has a voice, where everybody has equal access to government services, tolerant communities are the most stable. And that's quality of life for the people that live there. It also makes the countries more attractive to foreign investors.
The importance of Serbian people participating in these elections is a particular issue, but another important fact is having elections with highest European standards. Do you see any goodwill that these elections will be held in this spirit?
Well, anybody that's heard me talk before knows that I'm an optimist about Kosovo. I have seen goodwill on behalf of all the people that I've talked to, from citizens to political leaders to members of the Central Election Commission to international community that's playing a supportive role. So I think our role as internationals is to encourage free and fair elections. We will be putting out a major observation effort. The European Union is sending observers. Our embassy will have 40 teams of observers deployed throughout Kosovo. And we're also supporting, together with the embassies of Great Britain and Norway, a local observation effort that includes more than 1,000 local people from Kosovo NGOs to observe the elections. And I hope that the combination of good preparation on behalf of the people of Kosovo by the institutions in Kosovo, in coordination with the international community, combined with the observation, will result in free and fair elections.
We have prosecution, Kosovo institutions, a lot of NGOs that are involved in these elections in many ways, and we have so many fines announced for people who manipulate during the voting process. Do you see that we are enough prepared to fight these manipulations and irregularities?
Well, I've been impressed by the level of preparation on behalf of the police and the prosecutors to do their part to ensure free and fair elections. There have already been arrests and fines. As a result of the new criminal procedures code, fines are higher than they were in the past. There are jail sentences of up to 5 years. And I believe that the police and the prosecutors are ready to move swiftly to investigate and prosecute electoral fraud. But that will only work if ordinary citizens, ordinary voters on the day, are willing to report what they see. If you see something, say something.
How do you evaluate the rule of law in general in Kosovo?
This is a big area of focus for our embassy. In fact, in the last 2 days, I've done 2 rule of law events. One of them was a $4.5 million contribution of IT infrastructure for the Kosovo police. Today I opened a roundtable with civil society on the topic of justice for the people. This is an area where we continue to work, and I'm proud of the work that we've been able to do so far. Through the Department of State's International Narcotics and Law Enforcement funding, we are able to have colleagues here from Department of Justice, including both police and prosecutors, to help build additional capacity. We have colleagues from the Department of Treasury who are helping to provide training in fighting economic crime and who have supported the setup of a new Office of Economic Crime in the Kosovo government. So this is an area where we'll continue to focus. The USAID has been working with courts, and we've had input into the new laws and new regulations that have come into effect this year, ranging from a new criminal code to new standard operating procedures for victims' rights. So we will continue that close cooperation. I think there's been a lot of progress. Obviously, we have a lot farther to go.
What do our institutions need to focus more in order to have more success in this field, in the rule of law?
Well, it's always a work in progress for every country, and I think that Kosovo is doing the right thing by engaging in training, by making hiring and promotion processes more transparent. by working with the international community when it's appropriate to do so. I would note the role of ULEX in this regard. We also support ULEX. The US government provides some 33 detailees to the European Rule of Law mission. And I think it's important going forward as Kosovo develops its own capacities in policing, in prosecution, in the judiciary, that it works very closely with the European Union, with ULEX, to define that future together. What capabilities does Kosovo still need from the international community? What is it able to do on its own now? And I hope to see those conversations go forward in Brussels and here in Kosovo as well.
Regarding the economic field, Kosovo is considered to be gradually developing. We have a new highway now, a new airport terminal with higher standards. Are we in the right path?
There are things to be proud of. The privatizations in aviation and energy distribution are both positive steps forward. Kosovo is one of the few countries in Europe to have consistent GDP growth. Just last week, it was announced that Kosovo has arisen another 12 places on the World Bank Ease of Doing Business report. That's in addition to 27 places last year. And that's a direct result of the work that the government of Kosovo has done to improve the business environment. So these are all positive areas that we can be proud of. On the other hand, unemployment remains a problem. And jobs can only be created if there's investment. And we still see barriers to investment. The main barriers being corruption and the perception of corruption, and lack of judicial capacity. So those are areas that need continued focus in order for Kosovo to advance. In the end, Kosovo needs to continue its work to create a business environment that is comfortable, that's welcoming for investors, for private sector-led economic growth. Mm-hmm. And we are ready to stand by Kosovo as it moves forward in this direction as well.
But not everything for sure is perfect. The PTK privatization process is still struggling and there is no consensus about that. How do you see the situation and what's your opinion regarding it?
This is more than just PTK. The government made the decision to privatize PTK in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's the right decision. Governments should not be in the business of running large businesses because they are not necessarily efficient and because they don't necessarily make decisions on the basis of what is the most effective business practice for the consumer. So we firmly agree that PTK should be privatized. The current process is ongoing. I am hopeful for a conclusion. I think to question the privatization of PTK at this point, after there's already been a tender process, it's not only bad for PTK's privatization, it sends a chilling signal to other investors outside of Kosovo. Capital is scarce. There has been an economic crisis in the world. People want to invest in a place that's stable and welcoming for investment. So PTK's successful privatization is important for the future of PTK. It's important for the attraction of foreign investment in the future, and ultimately it's important for the consumers.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested to know your opinion regarding another sector, the media sector. RTK has started 24 hours of broadcasting in Serbian channel. This was seen as a major step for giving the Serbian community the TV space and a way to promote the reality in Kosovo. So this institution employed more than 80 workers. What is your comment on this?
Well, I had a chance to visit RTK2 both before they started broadcasting, and I've done an interview there afterwards. I know that people are working very hard there. It's important for all communities to have access to information so that everybody can exercise their civic rights. And I believe that the establishment of this new station is symbolic of the government's commitment to ensure that that information flows to all communities.
Mm-hmm. Kosovo is still on its track towards the digitalization process, but this is a very expensive process and there is no extra aids for this process. Do you think that government needs to contribute more on this? The deadline is 2015, the middle of 2015.
This is an extremely complicated process, and the transition was difficult in my country as well, including in terms of a lack of public awareness. It's not just about the media. Digitalization poses challenges in the political environment, economic environment, technical environment for both broadcasters and regulators. And for me, the most important thing is that all the stakeholders have an opportunity to have their voice heard as the plan for going forward is designed, and that all the stakeholders keep in mind the importance of continual access to information for the viewers.
At the end, I would like to go back to the election process. Do you have any message for those who are still not sure if they want to go voting on Sunday?
My message would be to exercise your democratic right. Kosovo worked hard and suffered a lot to achieve this democracy. And I hope that people will go to the polls and vote for the person that they think is best able to lead their community forward. These are municipal elections. These are people from your own community. You know these people. You know who is going to do the best job to move the municipalities forward. So I really hope to see a lot of people at the polls. I'll be traveling around the country on Sunday myself, and I look forward to seeing voters at the polls exercising their democratic right to have their voice heard and how their municipality and how their country moves forward.
Exactly. You'll be on Sunday going around the country and seeing how this process is going. You also mentioned before the observers. You're going to have observers on Sunday here?
Yes, we will have from our embassy and our sister embassies in Montenegro, Macedonia, and Albania. We'll have 40 teams of 80 observers. That will be 1 American and 1 member of local staff. And we will be coordinating very closely with the European Observation Mission to exchange information with them.
Thank you so much for your time and for this interview, Mrs. Jacobson.
Thank you, and good luck to all of Kosovo on Sunday.